Hello everyone, I welcome you to my YouTube channel. Here I speak basically of civil engineering, and here you will be finding all my video lectures regarding various topics on civil engineering. So now I am going to speak about the traffic signals in this particular video and the furthermore topics related to the traffic engineering. This video is actually the part 2 of the traffic engineering chapter, which I have done. The previous part has been already shooted in another video, and if you have not seen that video yet, then you must see the video first and then proceed on to this course. The video for the previous part of traffic engineering is given in the description below, and also you need to practice the problems again, whose video lectures link is given in the description. So now let's start with the traffic signals here. Resume with the traffic signals. In the last video you have been taught about the traffic signs. So what are these traffic signs, signals and other things? They are basically the traffic control devices. We have already read about the traffic signs. Now we will read about the remaining ones, that is the traffic signals, markings or islands. So let's start with the traffic signals. Traffic signals are power operated traffic control device or a sign by which traffic is warned or directed to take some specific action. So why is it power operated traffic? Because it is operated with the help of electricity. Like any traffic signal, wherever you will be going, or even the signals for the pedestrians, those traffic signals are basically electrical power operated, and they or a sign by which traffic is warned or directed to take some specific action. Suppose if you are shown the red light, you have to stop the vehicle. Yellow light means wait, and for the green light you have to start the vehicle again at a particular crossing. So these power operated signals do have some specific actions, are meant for some specific actions. So what are the advantages? They provide orderly movement of traffic. The traffic movement is made in order because these traffic signals are designed in various ways considering the traffic studies which has been done for the particular location. Increases the traffic handling capacity of most of the intersections at grid, and as because at different intersections the signals are connected one after the other, the times for the red part and the green part is connected one after the other, and therefore it helps in a smooth handling of the traffic capacity. Next is the reduce certain types of accidents, mainly right angle collisions. Yeah, of course, signals you will find in the right angle intersections, and there, if the signals are regulated in an orderly manner with the proper design of the times for green time or for the red time, then of course collisions may be avoided. Next is the reasonable traffic speed is maintained. So a traffic speed is maintained because at a particular stretch of the road a vehicle is running, and after a certain time it will be encountered with a traffic signal, and therefore if it is red the particular vehicle has to stop. Hence the speed is also regulated. It's not like that the vehicle will be continuously running and with increasing speed at every duration of time. Also, automatic signals are economical as compared to manual signals. For manual signals, you need to employ a person, whereas an automatic signal, once designed, will work automatically as per the traffic goes on and on over the road. Now, what are the disadvantages? Improper design and location may lead to violations of the control system. So, there must be some expertise of the designer, so that the design must be perfect, and the location wherever they are placing the traffic signal must be a vital one, so that it must not lead to any violation of the control system. The control system must be regulated nicely. So this is one of the disadvantage, and another disadvantage is failure of signal due to electric power may cause confusion of the road system. Now suppose in an intersection three signals are working and one signal is not working. So for that particular road, the it will be difficult for the users. Suppose this is the road intersection and signals are working over here, here and here, but not working over here. So these three traffics will be maintained in an orderly manner, but the traffic from this road won't be maintained in an orderly manner because the traffic signal has failed, and therefore the drivers are confused when to stop or when to start their vehicle at the particular intersection. Next is let us read about the types of traffic signals. Traffic signals, that is a traffic control. First is the traffic control signals, stop, wait, go. This is the simple traffic signal which you will see with red, yellow and green light, meant for stop, wait or go. Next is the pedestrian signals which you will be finding in zebra crossings and sidewalks, where a passerby or a pedestrian is instructed to wait or walk at the particular crossing. Special traffic signal like flash red warnings, like suppose if some danger is ahead, the special traffic signals are used to make the driver know that some danger is ahead of you, and these signals are placed at a distance, some distance ahead of the danger, so that the driver is particularly known about this mistake, about this problem which is upcoming in his journey. So let us read about the design elements of the traffic signals. First is the cycle length. It is the time interval between starting all signals such as green to the next time the green starts. So when a signal is green, till then it turns to red or yellow, and then further again when it is green, this is known as one cycle length. So one cycle length is the time interval between starting all signals such as green to the next green time. From one green to the next green time is the cycle length. Second one is the interval, that is change from one state to another. Change interval, it is also called as yellow time, and it indicates the interval between green and red signal. So the yellow interval is known as the change interval, and it is found in between the green and the red signal. Next is the clearance interval. It is known as all red time and is included after each yellow interval, indicating a period which all signal phases show red, and it is used for clearing of vehicles at the intersections. So this is also the red time, and therefore in this time the traffic stops and is meant for clearing of vehicles at the intersection. So therefore total cycle length will be the green interval, the red interval and the change interval. The sum of these three will give you the total cycle length. Next is the phase. Phase is the sum of green interval and clearance interval. The sum of green and clearance interval is the phase, and the lost time represents the time movement during the intersection is not effectively utilized for any movement. So the time during which the intersection is not effectively utilized for any movement, there is a particular time when certain time comes. Suppose one signal has turned to red, and just in a fraction of second another signal turns to green. So this 1 or 2 second loss for this green road vehicles to start, this is known as the lost time. So some certain time is lost. It's not like that just as you see the green color and you will be starting your vehicle. It's not like that. So there is some loss in the time, and that should be included while you are designing the traffic signals. There are four methods of designing traffic signals: trial cycle, approximate, Webster and IRCTC. So we will discuss this one by one. First is the trial cycle method. The 15-minute the following are the steps in the method. The 15-minute traffic counts N1 and N2 on the two roads 1 and 2 are observed during peak hour of flow. Suppose there are two roads which are intersecting 1 and 2. So their 15-minute traffic counts N1 and N2 on the two roads 1 and 2 are observed during the peak hour flow. So only during the peak hour flow we will take the 15-minute traffic counts. Second is a trial. After this thing is done, we will take a trial cycle of c seconds. We will assume trial cycle of c seconds, and the number of cycles in the 15 minutes period will be n1. Then b will then be 900 upon c1. So the number of cycles in the 15-minute period n1 will be 900 by c1. So it is clear that you will divide 15 into 60 upon c1. So 15 into 60 is equal to 900, and 900 upon c1 is the trial cycle. The number of cycles n1. N1 will be equal to 900 upon c1. Next is assuming the time headway as 2.5 seconds. We assume a time headway as 2.5 seconds. The green periods for road 1 and 2 cleared during the trial cycle as are got as G1 and G2. These are the two formulas for the green times. So the amber period A1 and A2 are calculated based on the approach speeds or assumed to range from 2 to 5 seconds. The cycle length C1 dash equals to G1 plus G2 plus A1 plus A2. So the sum of the green times and the amber times will be the cycle length. So if C1 dash is very nearly equal to the assumed value C1, it is taken to the design. Otherwise, a different trial cycle C2 if C1 is less than C1 or C2 is less than C1 is assumed, and steps 1 to 4 are repeated. So if C1 dash is very nearly equal to the assumed values of C1, what we take that the designs in the design cycle a different, it is taken to be the design cycle. Otherwise, if it is not very equal to C1 dash, then we assume a separate tricycle C2 if C1 is less than C2 and C1 is less than C2, and C2 is less than C1 is assumed, and the steps 1 to 4 are repeated. This iterative procedure is repeated until there is good agreement between the calculated and the assumed values. So this is a process of trial and error method until and unless we get the values quite close. Next is the approximate method. In this method, cycle length depends on the pedestrian time to cross the road and traffic volume. So here is the given diagram. The steps involved in the method are: first, calculate the time required by the pedestrian to cross road A or B, which is called as clearance interval. So CI WA by WB is divided by 1.2 meter per second. So 1.2 meter per second is considered as the average speed of the pedestrian walking, and so CI is for WA or WB, WA upon WB divided by 1.2 meter per second is the clearance interval. Next is the minimum green time for pedestrian to cross road AB, GPA upon GPB, that is the green time to cross road or A or B for a minimum pedestrian, is CIAB plus initial walking period of 5 seconds. Therefore, GPA is equal to the red time at A shall be equal to the green time at B and amber time at B. And similarly, the green time for B pedestrian at B, that is GPB, shall be equal to the red time at B, and therefore that is equal to the amber time and green time at the road A for the road A. So it is clear that whenever the traffics in this road will be stopped, these traffics can only go this traffic only can go at that time, and these are stopped, this traffic is stopped, and as the time these traffics are stopped, the pedestrian can cross over here. And the same thing occurs when this road section is stopped and pedestrian can go from here to here, and therefore the vehicles can go from here to here, and therefore the pedestrian can easily cross this part of the sections. So red time for road B means the pedestrian can walk at that time, that is the green time for pedestrians at road B. So red time for road B is means the green time for pedestrians at road B, and therefore it is also the green time and amber time for the vehicles in road A, and the vice versa for road B. If NA and NB are the approaching volume of heaviest traffic per hour lane on road and road B, road A and B respectively, then GA upon GB is equal to NA upon NB. So we are considering NA and NB as the approaching volume of the heaviest traffic per hour per lane on road A and B respectively, and then we thus get this proportion, that is GA upon GB will be equal to NA upon NB. The total cycle length shall be C naught is equal to GA plus AA plus RA, or C naught is equal to GA plus AA plus GB plus RB. Why? Because RA is equal to GB plus AB. So replacing that, we will get the total cycle time C naught is equal to GA plus AA is equal to GB plus AB. So there is another specification for this type of design, that is do not walk time for pedestrian, that is the red time. Okay, so suppose do not walk for pedestrian A will be the red time at road B. Suppose this is the road, this is A road, this is B road. So what is do not walk for the pedestrians at A is the only time when the road A will have vehicles traveling all over it. Alright, this is the do not walk time for road A, and when the vehicles will be traveling at road A, the pedestrians certainly cannot cross the road, and also at that time the vehicle users in road B will be at stop. So therefore do not walk for pedestrian at road A shall be equal for the red time in road B, and that is equal to the green time and amber time at road A, which is in function, and vice versa for do not walk time for pedestrians at road B. So there's a note, if the pedestrian signal is used, minimum 7-second walking period must be provided. If pedestrian signal is used, minimum 7-second walking period must be provided. So I guess I need to summarize this thing once more. Suppose this is the road, and vehicles are traveling in this way, that is in the road B. The vehicles are traveling, that is they are in the green time or the amber time, that is the yellow time for road B. Okay, I tell you one thing, amber time means the yellow time. Okay, and so during this time, this green or the yellow time, we will consider that the vehicles are moving in road B. So at that time the pedestrians in the road B cannot cross this one, so they have to stop. But the time when the road B in road B the vehicles will be traveling, the vehicles in road A will be at a stop, they cannot travel at that time, and hence if these vehicles are stopped, the pedestrians in road A can easily cross at that time. Okay, If you have seen a working of a simple intersection in any city, then you will get this idea very easily. Next, at the time when this road B will be in red signal, then the road A vehicles will be in motion and the pedestrians in road B can easily cross at that time, but the pedestrians and road A has to stop and wait until the next red time is available in road A. So we get clearance interval as WA upon WB divided by 1.2 meter per second, assuming 1.2 meter per second as the average speed of pedestrian walking. Next is GPA upon GPB if green time for pedestrians at A and B respectively, the ratio of which will be equal to CI, the clearance interval AB, plus initial walking period of 5 seconds, and GPA is equal to RA shall be equal to GB plus AB. GPA is the green time for pedestrians at A, that is equal to the red time for pedestrians at vehicles at A road, and green time and amber time for B road, and at the same time green time for road B, green time for pedestrians at road B will be equal to the red time at road B and green and amber time for road A. Assuming NA and NB as the approaching volume of the heaviest traffic per hour lane on road A and B, we get GA upon GB is equal to NA upon NB, and hence the total cycle length will be C naught equal to GA plus AA plus RA. RA is also GB plus AB, and thus we get C naught equal to GA plus AA plus GB plus AB. Do not walk time for pedestrians at A is equal to RB, which is equal to GA plus AA, and do not walk time for pedestrians at B is equal to RA, which is equal to GB plus AB. If pedestrian signal is used, minimum 7-second walking period must be provided. Next is the Webster method. In this method, optimum signal cycle corresponding to the minimum total delay of the traffic at which signalized intersection is obtained after detailed studies of cycle time and delay vis-a-vis the traffic volume approaching the intersection. So in this method we take up an optimum signal cycle, and therefore we work upon that one, and this is considered to be a rational approach as it has a mathematical basis. It is completely mathematical, and thus let us take up what are the steps. Like, the saturation flow of traffic S1 S2 on the approach roads are obtained from the field studies. So by you doing the field study, we get the saturation traffic of the roads S1 S2 etc. by noting the number of vehicles of the stream flowing during the green aspects and the corresponding time intervals. In the absence of data, the value are determined using RRL recommendations already given under the definition of saturation flow. So we need not to know about this point, but just keep it an idea that saturation flow of the traffic S1 S2 and so on, these are obtained during the field studies. Second step is the flows Q1 Q2 on the approach roads during the design hour peak hour traffic are also obtained from field observations. The normal flows Q1 and Q2 are also obtained, and thus the ratios Y1 is equal to Q1 upon S2 or Y2 equal to Q2 upon S2 are calculated. This shall be S1. In this case of mixed traffic, all the Q and S values are to be obtained after converting to equivalent PCU values. The optimum signal cycle C naught is given by this formula: C naught equal to 1.5 L plus 5 upon 1 minus Y. Here L is equal to total lost time per cycle in seconds, that is equal to Ni plus R, where N is the number of phases based on the traffic signal installations on the approach road, and L is the lost time. So we considered L as the lost time and Y as the and sorry, L as the lost time in cycle, that is equal to NL plus RR, and N is the number of phases based on traffic signal installations on the approach road, and L is the lost time as defined in lost time earlier. Okay, R is all read time in the seconds. Now if Y is equal to Y1 plus Y2, this is how we get Y, and that is Y1 plus Y2, and G1 is equal to Y1Y upon capital Y C0 minus L, and G2 is this one. So we get the green times for road 1 and 2, and we also provide suitable amber times, for that is the times of red, green and amber aspects are obtained. And if there are pedestrian signals, the walk and don't walk times can also be calculated based on the red aspect times on the particular roads and extra times for starting delays. The results may be summarized in the form of timing diagram or a phasing diagram. So guys, we will be doing these two designs in the very next video, where I will be solving various problems on traffic engineering, and thus we will be designing the traffic signals by the various methods. There's one more method, IRC method. Numericals are not from this method, we won't get any numericals. So I will be attaching you the note in the description, and you can just go through this. If any doubts arise, you can put your doubts in the comment section. Now let us read about the intersection. Intersection is the area where two or more roads meet. So you know that intersection is the place where two or even more roads can meet. At intersection there are through, turning and crossing traffic. So this one is the through traffic, there is some through traffic, there is crossing traffic, and also there are turning traffics. So how this thing happens? Like, this is an intersection, it somewhat looks like this. We have an island over here. Through traffics are these ones, turning traffics are these ones, turning traffics are these ones, and crossing traffics are the ones which we will be crossing this one. So the movements may be controlled in different ways depending upon the type of intersection and its design. So here are few of the different type of intersection. That is, first one is the T sections, unchannelized, and next is the flared unchannelized T junction. There is a flared unchannelized T junction for right turning movements, and this one is for right turning and this one is for left turning. And hence at last we have the channelized T junction with divisional island. So wherever you will be finding islands in the T intersections, those are referred to as the channelized ones, and those where islands are not there, these are the unchannelized ones. There is one more, that is the left skewed intersection. So in the previous one in the T intersections, the roads were meeting perpendicularly. The roads were actually meeting perpendicularly, but in skewed intersections the road meet at a certain angle other than 90 degree. So these angles are known as the intersection angle at which the roads meet, and the skew angle is the shift from the perpendicular from which it was supposed to hit the road or cross the road. So suppose this one should have been the way if it would have been a T intersection, but this road is skewed by this angle known as the skew angle from this position, and thus it is meeting the road at an angle known as the intersection angle. So this one this one is a left skewed intersection and this one is a right skewed intersection. This is a roundabout or a rotary intersection. What is a roundabout or rotary intersection? Roundabout or a rotary is something like there are more than four or five roads are coming meeting at one point, and the vehicles can actually turn or weave themselves around this particular intersection, and we have one island at the center which forms as an axis for about which the roads are meant to turn. And these roundabouts or rotaries are one type of intersection where the uniform direction of travel of the vehicles are maintained. So whichever way they are coming from, they rotate at one particular direction in a roundabout or a rotary. We will read about rotary in the next topic, but before that we read about interchange. An interchange is a great separated intersection with the facilities of ramp for turning traffic between approaching way. So here are few diagrams of interchange, photos of interchange. You can get idea. First one is the diamond interchange on your left, and on your right is a rotary interchange. Next is a partial cloverleaf interchange. You can see it is like a cloverleaf structure. On the right hand side you will see the full cloverleaf interchange, because the structure is like a full cloverleaf, and when it is partially cloverleafed, it is the partial cloverleaf interchange. Next is the traffic rotaries or roundabouts. The traffic rotary intersections are special form of intersection at grade laid out for movement of traffic in one direction about a central traffic island. As I told you, about one traffic island, considering that to be the axis, the vehicles move on a particular direction whichever way they are coming from, and thus these intersections are known as rotaries or roundabouts. The vehicles entering the rotary are gently forced to move in a clockwise direction in orderly fashion, and therefore the vehicles move in an orderly fashion, and the speed also gets limited whenever they enter a rotary. So here is a diagram of a rotary. You can note it down by pausing the video, and also you will get the diagram in the notes whose link is there in the description below in the video. So let us see the advantages of a rotary. The flow is regulated in one direction and thus eliminating severe conflicts. So as the vehicles flow in one direction, severe conflicts can be eliminated. Also the vehicles slow down gently and none of them are needed to be stopped. So the vehicles are slowed down in a rotary because the vehicles need to turn about a central island, and also they did not to be stopped, avoiding any kind of collision. Next is the self-governing, and they are self-governing and practically don't need any control by police or traffic signal. Also presence of any rotary is totally self-controlling, and therefore they don't need any traffic police or a traffic officer or any kind of traffic signal for their maintenance or operation. Now what are the disadvantages? First of all, the vehicles do need to slow down because the the roads actually uh, have a lesser wide width as compared to the normal roads in near the vicinity of any rotary. And also the presence of the central island, the vehicles need to turn about it, and therefore their speed needs to be slowed down. And even when there is a low traffic, the least chance of accidents, the vehicles are still forced to reduce their speed. And of course this is a disadvantage because even if there is no chance of accident, unnecessarily the vehicles need to slow down their speed, thereby thereby increasing the journey time. Next is they require large and flat area of land. Of course, a large area is required for such type of constructions and not suitable for pedestrian movement or crossing as the vehicles continuously flow. So here there are some facts about the rotaries. First of all, the design speed of rotary as per IRC shall be 40 km per hour. Radius of curve at entry shall be 20 to 35 meter. Radius of curve at exit shall be at 1.5 to 2 into R entry. So R exit shall be equal to 1.5 to 2 times the R entry depending upon the situation. Radius of central traffic island RCI is 1.33 times of R entry, and width of the weaving section W is equal to E1 plus E2 upon 2 plus 3.5, where E1 is the entry width and E2 is the exit width. Minimum weaving length should be 45 km and entry and exit angle 60 and 30 degree respectively. What is the capacity of the rotary? Capacity of the rotary is given by this particular formula, and the capacity is measured in PCU, that is the passenger car units, and capacity of the rotary is given by this formula, and Q is equal to 280 W into 1 plus E by W into 1 minus P by 3 upon 1 plus W by T. Here W is the width of weaving section, E is the average width of entry into the rotary, L is the weaving length, and P is the proportional ratio. So how do we get the proportional ratio? That is the weaving or crossing traffic upon the total traffic, that is B plus C upon A plus B plus C plus D. So what are these ABCDs? A is the left turning traffic moving along left extreme lane. B is the crossing or weaving traffic turning towards right while entering the rotary. C is the crossing or weaving traffic turning towards left while leaving the rotary. And D is the turning traffic moving along the right extreme lane. Conditions to the formula, that is the width of the weaving section shall be between 6 meter and 18 meter. The E by W ratio shall be 0.4 to 1 and W by L ratio shall be 0.1 to 2.4, and P should be equal to 0.4 to 1. What is P? P is again the proportional ratio which is given by B plus C upon A plus B plus C plus D. So that should be between 0.4 to 1, and length of weaving shall be 18 to 90 meters. So that was all about the traffic engineering. The problems related to this are in a separate video whose link is given in the description. You may please go through this, and any kinds of doubts that might arise in your mind, please don't hesitate to write in the comment sections. Thank you. Please like, share and subscribe my channel. God bless. Thank you.